Hi, this is Christopher Clark, Town Administrator for the Town of Harwich. I thought today we would spend some time just talking about the town meeting that's coming up. We're a couple weeks away, and I thought it would be of some value to go through town meeting and some of the expectations in terms of the budget and what some of the articles are that folks will be voting on. So today I do have, which hopefully people will bring with them, their warrant book to town meeting. Annual town meeting starts the evening of May 4th, and then the special town meeting is on May 5th. A couple things just to kind of highlight. We are probably going to put some graphics on the website that kind of show the sources of funds that we have. Just a couple items of note on here. The tax levy on the sources of funds, meaning the identifiable revenue. About 76% of that comes from the taxpayer in the form of property tax. Local receipts, which is really your excise tax and some of those other larger ambulance fees. Those are about 18%. State aid is only 1% of our total budget, which is fairly small. So we contribute a lot more than we get back from the state in terms of revenue. So just to kind of give you a little bit of a glimpse, again, 76% from the taxpayer, so we're very property tax driven, with about 18% coming from local receipts, and then the small remaining pie. So one of the things when we look at, okay, well that's where the revenue comes from, how about where the money goes, where do the dollars go? And you can kind of see by the graphic that the pie shows that it's much more divvied up. We actually, to try to make it so it would be a little bit more functional, we did show fairly large sections of the pie. But Monomoy Regional Middle School, this is just their direct assessment, is about 40% of the budget. So a fairly significant piece of the pie. On the town operating side, I broke it into one of the pie pieces, about 15% is fire, police, ambulance, and public safety for emergency dispatch. That's about 15% of the budget. The other area of the town was the highway department, keeping roads in good shape. That is about 7% of the budget. The town operating budget related to libraries and golf, I just picked those because they were two bigger pieces, total about 4%. The town operating budget, everything else, which basically means the administration office here, town hall, a lot of the town hall departments constitute about 11% of the overall budget. Some of the other larger pieces, debt service, 6%, health insurance, 7%, Cape Cod Tech School, it looks like about 3%. So just to give you a sense for how the money gets divvied up. And what we will do is we'll have these on the town's website and on our cable channel pretty shortly for people to be able to see. Now to town meeting. Obviously it's important for our open town meeting that any registered voter can come and participate. When you get to town meeting, you do have to check in just to be identified, so you can be identified as a voter. If you're not a voter, there are certain areas where spectators can sit or people from out of town to sit and participate. So those sections have to be identified, so when there's voting that occurs, we can make sure we vote, record the votes accurately of the registered voters versus the non-resident voters. So in terms of kind of how town meeting works, some of the real simple basics is the moderator goes through the warrant, basically introduces or asks the finance committee to introduce the different articles. This year on the annual town meeting there's 51 articles, and the special town meeting there's 6 articles in total. I'm not going to go through all these because obviously that would be incredibly painfully boring, I'm sure, for most. But just to touch upon a few, some of the early articles, the town operating budget, Monomoy budget, Cape Cod Regional Tech School, and the water department, those group together to be the budget articles. So those are the primary articles for funding how the town operates from a personnel perspective. That probably is the lion's share of the operations for O&M, if you want to call operation and maintenance. Then we get into, we start to evolve from that, the budgets into the more specific capital budget items. The capital budget items, I think I have talked about some of these, but just to group them in general. We have fire capital, which is really the operation of the fire department. And due to kind of limited funding, some of the fire capital had to be put on for capital exclusion. That's one-time increase in taxes to pay for some of these items. So the town this year is seeking a new ambulance that will increase the fleet by 4, which will give us better response throughout the community by having a better vehicle. The new chief emergency response vehicle is a smaller vehicle for operations. New external defibrillators, constantly an item of need that we need to update. And then we have building repairs that exist in the various fire stations. A couple of other items, the harbor capital, we have the Saquatucket dock replacement. That is really for design for this year. With the upcoming will be the construction probably next year. DPW has some work to their facility, including road maintenance, their own facility repairs, and vehicle maintenance. The other areas are wastewater capital. I've also talked about these kind of extensively in the past. Cold Brook attenuation study, the comprehensive wastewater management plan. Muddy Creek had some increased cost. I know we had a specific one on that. The purchase of property in East Harwich for recharge. The water department has a couple to study the need for a water tank replacement. That would just be the engineering. The cost for the construction would come at a later date. And then water department vehicle. Community preservation are various articles in which the funding source is linked to the Community Preservation Act, a separate funding source from the operating budget. So there are several items related to that. A few town charter amendments that are being sought. The primary one is for library trustees, another is a local acceptance. On what we call private petitions, there's 2 private libraries that the town supports, the Chase and Harwichport libraries. Promote the town of Harwich is also something the town's support of our Chamber of Commerce, local Chamber of Commerce. There is a private petition for single-use plastic bag prohibition, which a private resident put together. And then there's a lot of kind of housekeeping items and a few operational changes, such as a change to the rules and regulations of the cemeteries is included. The special town meeting really has a couple of groupings. The first grouping to the special town meeting would be to purchase 2 public safety answering point. These are units that are used to receive your 911 calls and make sure we can get emergency personnel. This just came out fairly recently, in which the state has asked to have those updated from analog devices to digital. So the costs are approximately $60,000 for those 2. That's a capital exclusion because that came so late in the process. We were not able to identify funding sources in timely enough fashion. And then this year, obviously, we're paying the piper for a snow and ice deficit that we have had a tough winter. The good news is that we have sufficient funds to meet that snow and ice deficit, so we will be using funds from our what's called free cash, which we talked about last time. So the other last 2 items are just last 2 groupings, zoning, some minor zoning amendments, as well as a couple of items that were submitted by petitioners. I've gotten the high sign. I know I've gone over a little bit this week, and I know that there was a lot to try to cover in a short amount of time, but to compress a year's worth of work and focus on one meeting is sometimes difficult. So I appreciate your patience and following along with this. And again, as always, I appreciate your time and attention and look forward to serving you. Thank you.